What's going on, world? It's your boy Steve Dab 317 back with another reaction video. This one is going to be a little bit different. I actually have absolutely no idea what I'm reacting to. I actually had a good friend of mine reach out to him, was like, yo, you need to check out this video. Do a reaction to it. They wanted to see my reaction to it. Listen, by the way, speaking of that, if you have a video, does not have to be related to music, and you just want to see my reaction to it, put a link in the comments. I'll see if I can't get around to it. This one is titled Amazing Detailed Visual of a Sasquatch. Um like I don't even know where to begin in terms of trying to figure out what this video may be about. But he did say jump to around a 5 minute 30-second mark, something like that. And that's where it gets, as he describes, interesting. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and I'm just gonna go to the 5 minute mark and start from there. Assuming the video plays.
Their faces while continuing.
Helps to hit play. Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. Is that real or a backdrop? I can't tell anyways. Still like the look of it. All right, here we go.
Upward. The slurping grew louder, and now we could hear what sounded like a sigh in between each slurp. At this junction, the creek hooked around behind the hill in front of us and out of sight. Our trail would intersect with the creek once again just over this hill. At this time in the hike, Jesse was already ahead of me by approximately 8 to 10 feet. Suddenly, as we come over this hill, Jesse froze in his steps and I came up behind him, alerted by his actions. As I approached him from his six, I looked over his shoulder and also saw what he was looking at. In front of us, and only 20 feet from our position, I saw what at first I thought was a huge bear drinking from the creek.
Okay. So I'm assuming like he's reading a memoir. I don't know if he's recounting like his actual story. I may go back after I finish this reaction video and watch it from the beginning if I can't like put all the clues and stuff together before the end of it.
As my brain tried to categorize the animal I was looking at, I suddenly realized that directly under its glutes were a pair of huge feet. Not hooves or paws, but actual feet, each having 5 toes. The feet were dusty gray color and the same texture of the bottom of the dog's paw. As it knelt down, the glutes were as large as a Clydesdale's ass, and I'm not kidding. With the exception of the soles of his feet, the creature was covered 4 to 5 inches in length with dark brown, almost black hair. Its hair on his butt was also matted, and it looked like he had sat in a wet cow pie. Oh, that's nice. Under his butt, I could clearly see testicles, and I knew it was a male. We stood there frozen with fear. I could not feel my legs, and my skin crawled from the adrenaline running through my blood. I remember my mouth going dry and feeling numb all over my mouth and face. The smell of this animal was indescribable. It was absolutely horrible, and I could feel my gag reflexes twitching as I badly wanted to vomit. Jesse's face was beet red and his eyes were watering as his hand was over his mouth, also trying to hold back the nauseous feeling we had. He then tried to back up, push me back also. We both tried to regain our balance while still keeping our eyes on this thing. It must have heard us moving because suddenly in one quick motion, it jumped to its feet and spun around facing us in a defensive posture. As it did this, it made a loud bark-type sound and seemed to make the trees shake. It stood there with his fist clenched and his arm raised in front like a boxer.
Oh, hold on real quick. Before he goes on this video, down in the comments, let me know, do you believe in Sasquatch? Yes or no down in the comments. Comment right now. Don't wait till the end of this video. I don't know what direction it's going. And I'll share my thoughts, I guess, at some point also. But I want to hear what you got to say first. All right, back into this story.
It stood there with his fist clenched and his arm raised in front like a boxer. Its lips were curled, bearing these huge horse teeth as it glared directly at us and breathed heavy. The bottom half of his face was dripping with creek water, and his eyes were black, like a shark's eyes.
A lot of
I stood there frozen out of fear and amazement of this animal's sheer size and agility. I'm 6'2", and I only came up to its midsection. I can only guess that this animal was between 10 and 12 feet in height. It was much higher than a basketball rim and towered over us like we were children. I remember briefly thinking of grabbing my weapon, but even if I was able to empty my whole clip into him, he was still close enough to have been able to get us before he was neutralized. Therefore, all 3 of us just stood there for a good 1 minute and 20 seconds or so and studied one another. I was absolutely in amazement at the incredible size of this creature. I remember every detail clearly as if it were yesterday, and I'll attempt to describe the proportions of this creature the way I seen it.
All right, and before we jump into these proportions, um, a couple things stand out to me. One, it makes me think of reading like a Stephen King novel. And I only said it because if you've ever read anything that Stephen King has written, like especially when it comes to like murder, when it involves murder and things like that, like the way he writes, like it's one of those things where like if I at some point found out that he was like some serial killer, I don't think I would be at all surprised because like just the amount of graphic details and how precise everything is. But I don't know, maybe he's just amazing with his penmanship, or I don't know, maybe there's more to the story that we don't know yet. Second thing, I forgot. I think that's part of the reason why I don't edit these videos. I have no idea, but there was the second thing. If it comes back to me, I'll pause the video again.
First of all, the feet on this creature were massive and are approximately 20 or more inches in length. The toenails and fingernails were dark colored with an orange tint to them. The creature did not have 1 ounce of fat on its entire body, and I could see the vascularity of every muscle that seemed like they would have straighted if it weren't for the hair that covered them. The calves were twice the size of my own head, and his quads were as big as tree trunks and swept out like bodybuilders. I'm not kidding.
I was
Those
just about
legs
to
looked
say,
like
it
they could
sounds
have
like a
squat a
bodybuilder
full-size Dodge pickup
description.
truck. The glutes were
Lee
huge and muscular
Priest.
and very high to attract runners. They tied into these enormous hamstrings that gave the animal a very explosive look, like it could sprint at very high speeds. The waist
All right, so I don't know if this whoever wrote this is recanting the story or what, or just thinking about something they seen before. But I know they just said that the creature was facing them with his in like a defensive fist up type posture, and then now it's going back to describing the glutes and hamstrings, and but a lot of the description seems to be about or surrounding this creature's genitalia.
animal a very explosive look, like it could sprint at very high speeds. The waist was narrow and very powerful and solid looking. Above that, I could see these huge lats that flared out under his arms. His pectorals were wide and bulky looking. They were so big that they came up to his chin. I couldn't see any neck at all, but his traps and deltoids were what really caught my attention. First of all, the delts were as big as the beach balls, and connected to them were these huge traps that flared out and upward. They went from his deltoids to his ears. The top of
Now
his
let me
head was
find out this is
conical,
Brock
and these
Lesnar
bulky
he's talking
muscles
about.
steamed down from the tip of his cranium to his traps, kind of like the back of a gorilla's neck.
It's a Brock
Now, the
Lesnar.
face is not like an ape at all. It really looked like a Neanderthal in the facial features. The face had less hair than the rest of its body, all except for these thick eyebrows that pointed upward. He had no hair around his eyes nor his nose. His forehead was sloped, and the eyebrow ridges protruded out, and under them were these deep eye sockets that sank deep into his skull. The cheekbones were very wide and high, and below them was this deep, powerful-looking jawline. The nose had a ridge to it, like a human nose, and the nostrils flared out and downward. They weren't pointed down like a human nostril would be. When his lips relaxed a bit, I could see that he really didn't have any upper lip at all. It was very thin, and his bottom lip was larger. The mouth overall was very wide, as was his face. His arms were huge and bulky, and you could see his triceps bulging out, and his biceps looked like bowling balls. His forearms were abnormally long, and they were bulging with muscles too. His knuckles were huge, and the color of his skin was a cross between black and gray. Believe me, trying to describe this creature does not even begin to do it justice. I wish I could somehow download his picture from my brain and put it on a screen to show you his enormous proportions. In 1993, I shot a 1,200-pound bull elk near Yakima. The creature we saw that day had twice the muscle mass as my elk did, and I guarantee you he weighed no less than 1,500 pounds, with a maximum weight of 2,500 pounds easily. Man, that's a crazy-ass description, man. Finally, we had enough, and the urge to leave grew very strong. We began backing down the trail, keeping our eyes glued on the creature the entire time, except to look where we were going periodically. As we backed away, his arms dropped to his sides and he opened his mouth to let out a soft and deep bellowing sound, kind of like a gurgling moan sound that a male lion does to declare his territory. Long after he was out of sight, we could hear this bellowing as we began a rapid descent down the mountain. When we reached the opening at the bottom near the lake, we opened up into full sprint all the way to the car. We drove all the way to Bellevue, Washington. Before we stopped for coffee to try to collect our thoughts. We didn't know how to begin to tell anyone what we had just seen. I don't think that I would have believed our own story if I hadn't seen it for myself. I don't know how this will help your research, if at all, but I do feel better getting this off my chest. Photos of Rattlesnake Ridge, King County, Washington State. Thank you. Huh. Yep, that was a detailed description.
All right. So my initial thought, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just an old tale. It's just been passed on from generations to generations. I think some of the encounters that people have, I think it's I can't say I've thought about it a lot. I've never given it a lot of thought. I've never taken it, I guess, serious enough to give it a lot of thought and actually think like, could this actually happen? But I don't know. I just picture people out, getting hammered and coming up with these stories. And they say if you tell a lie long enough and often enough, you'll start thinking it's the truth, or you'll start believing it's truth or something like that. But anyways, I don't know. I don't know. It's just my initial thoughts.
What a frickin' crazy experience. And with all the crazy shit going on these days out there, I'm definitely not the person that can dictate whether or not these people saw this thing, right? I mean, who is? Not me, not you. And there you go. There's another one.
That's fair. I feel like there's gonna be something towards the end that's supposed to make me jump or something. That's what I think is gonna happen. Is that really the end? I don't know. You guys let me know your thought. Like I said, I enjoy reacting to all different types of videos. That one was definitely very different. Sasquatch. Do I think it it slash they are real? Very, very descriptive story, but not enough to convince me to. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, you let me know down in the comments. I still enjoy doing reactions to just an assortment of things. I love music, but I don't want to only do music reaction videos. And I've got a lot of other things, a lot of different types of content coming to the channel. So keep the suggestions and the recommendations coming my way. Let me know your thoughts about this one. I've kind of shared my thoughts about that. When I think it's I'm more leaning towards made up. Uh, Once they the clips at the end, I thought they were going to show like some footage or something. I was planning on zooming in and pixel peeping, trying to determine like if the footage was real or fake or. But like even with like the footprints or whatever those were, like there's shoes. I think you can even get them on Amazon, where like you can get shoes that you wear, but it like the bottom sole makes it look like it's some type of animal print or something. And you've got like different animals. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts anyway. Steve Dab 317. Another reaction video. PVO, positive vibes only, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.